Recently, there has been a theory about the Super Bowl logo. For a stretch of time, the Super Bowl logos looked like this, but a few years back they changed them and made them more colorful. The Super Bowl has a different logo every season, with the number of the game in Roman numerals. There is also a colorful design that's unique to the city that it's being played in that year. The logo comes out long before the actual game, and long before the teams playing in it are decided. The theory is that whatever colors are in the logo dictates which teams will play in the game, and some people have gone so far as to say that the color on the bottom dictates which team will win the game. This started in the 2021 season when this Super Bowl logo came out. For the matchup, it ended up being the Rams versus the Bengals. These matched up with some of the team's main colors of orange of the Bengals and yellow of the Rams. The following season, this was the logo, red and green. The matchup ended up being Chiefs versus Eagles, whose colors are obviously red and green. And the next season, the colors were purple and red. A lot of people thought that it would be 49ers Ravens when each of those teams advanced to their championship games. However, it ended up being 49ers versus Chiefs, who are both red. For the 2024 season, this was the logo released, red and green again. And once again, the matchup is Chiefs versus Eagles. For next season, this is the logo, which many fans are hoping means Lions-Bills or something like that. Now, this theory might be a little far-fetched, but it's also interesting. If that doesn't sound crazy enough though, and you're wondering about why the Chiefs 49ers logo was so purple, some people had a theory that it was the same color as Taylor Swift's album that had just been released at the time. And obviously Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce of the Chiefs started dating that season. The next theory is that the NFL rigged the 2023 and 2024 seasons to have the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl and win it in 2023. The reason was to capitalize off the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift hype. Like most people know, early on in the 2023 NFL season, star Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce started dating singer Taylor Swift. Swift is one of the most popular singers and has a huge fan base. On Instagram alone, she has over 200 million followers from all over the world. A majority of her fans are also female, when a majority of NFL fans are males. When she started going to the games, as everybody knows, they would show her on TV quite often. As a result, there were more females watching the NFL than ever before. Teenage girls' viewership went up 53%. Viewership of women aged 18 to 24 went up 24%, and women 35 and older went up 34%. Millions of new fans were watching the NFL, and the Super Bowl is obviously the most watched game of the year. The Chiefs were already really good and Super Bowl favorites, but most fans will tell you that they've had quite a bit of help from getting calls go their way. If the Chiefs could play in the Super Bowl, the theory is that they would get more people watching than ever before, and more views equals more money. And it worked. The 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl in February of 2024 had more views than any other Super Bowl of all time. There was an average of 120.25 million people watching the game on CBS, and 1.25 million more watching on Nickelodeon. The previous record had been 114.44 million average viewers for the Patriots Seahawks in 2015. So it broke the record by over 6 million views. And women were 47.5% of the total viewers, which was also a record. And to top it off, the Chiefs won. In 2024, the hype calmed down a bit, but it's still there, and the theory is that the NFL wants to keep riding the wave of hype. All season in 2024, time and time again, the Chiefs seemed to have a controversial call help them win a game. This included the playoffs, with some costly penalties including roughing the passer, and against the Buffalo Bills, a few iffy calls as well, and a crucial fourth down call that went against the Buffalo Bills with the game on the line. So the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. On February 3rd, 2013, the Baltimore Ravens played the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. The game was being played at the Superdome in New Orleans. For the first half, the Ravens dominated. They had a 21-6 lead at halftime, and then, right after halftime, Jacoby Jones of the Ravens immediately ran back the second half kickoff for a touchdown. This made it 28-6. Then, during the 49ers' first drive of the second half, the power suddenly went out with 13:22 left in the third quarter.
But look at the safety is anticipating.
On CBS, the audio of the announcers abruptly cut out before it was announced that they had lost power.
This is Steve Tasker, sideline reporter for the Super Bowl 47. If you're expecting to hear our friend Jim Nantz, there may be a moment before he gets on. Half the power in New Orleans Stadium, the Superdome here, is out.
Now, they didn't lose all power, but just about half the lights in the stadium went out. The game ended up being delayed for 34 minutes before power was finally restored and the game could resume. Now, the official reason for the power outage was a piece of equipment designed to monitor the electrical load since an abnormality in the system. Now, it just seems wild for the power to go out during the biggest game of the year. With all the hype of the Super Bowl, you would never expect anything like that to happen, and many people thought that it was rigged, including Ravens star linebacker Ray Lewis, who played his last game in that very Super Bowl.
You need to tell me straight up right now who made that call.
I don't know.
In a $1 billion stadium, lights ain't going out, Peyton, unless something is at risk.
So you're going conspiracy.
I'm going conspiracy.
So what would the reason be for intentionally causing the power to go out? Well, at the time, the Ravens were dominating the game, and it looked like they were about to run away with it. It had been 21-6 at halftime, which is not quite out of reach, but after the immediate kickoff return to start the second half, it was 28-6, and things were not looking good. It was about to be a blowout, and if that was the case, many fans would turn the channel away and stop watching. And after the kickoff touchdown, when the 49ers got the ball, their drive did not start off well. After a 3-yard gain, there was a sack, making it 3rd and 13. The Ravens had all the momentum in the world, and looked like they were about to get the ball back yet again. It was also said that the game had been flying by to that point, moving much faster than expected. And the longer the game, the more commercials and advertisements and viewers. So according to the theory, the NFL had to do something, and they knocked out the power. This killed the Ravens' momentum and gave the 49ers some time to shake things off. But what it also did was get fans who had turned away because of the blowout to turn it back. This was in 2013, when social media was fairly new and people were live tweeting events. The power outage was obviously trending everywhere, and it became a hot topic of discussion. After half an hour, when things resumed, more people were probably paying attention than they had been before. And if the goal was to kill the Ravens' momentum and make the game more exciting, it certainly worked. The 49ers ended up mounting a comeback that wound up falling just short. The final score was 34-31, with the Ravens still winning. But after having a 28-6 lead, a 34-31 game sounds a lot more interesting. Overall, it just seems pretty strange, because this was not the Superdome's first Super Bowl. That very building had already hosted 6 Super Bowls, so you wouldn't figure something like that to happen. The next theory is that the 2006 Super Bowl was rigged. The 2006 Super Bowl was a matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. The game was played in February 2006 at Ford Field in Detroit. Now, most people know this game as one of the worst officiated Super Bowls of all time. There were many questionable calls, and every single one of them seemed to go against the Seahawks. For example, when the Seahawks scored their first touchdown of the game, it was called offensive pass interference. And just look at how late the flag comes in. Even the announcers, John Madden and Al Michaels, didn't seem to think it was a push-off.
You know, when you think of push-offs, that's not the kind you think about, really.
There are a few close calls that probably could have gone either way, like this touchdown by Ben Roethlisberger. They were very quick to call it a touchdown though, and typically you see officials take a little time. It was replayed and the call on the field was upheld. And when the Seahawks got another big play in the red zone, they were called for holding. This is a call that could maybe go either way, but John Madden didn't seem to think it was a hold.
Oh, I didn't see holding.
On this same play, the Steelers appeared to possibly be offsides, but they were not called. There was also a possible horse collar tackle on Seahawks running back Shaun Alexander, which was also not called, benefiting the Steelers. But the worst call of all of them was an interception thrown by Seahawks quarterback Matt Hasselbeck. He threw the interception and then wound up making the tackle on the play. On that very same play, he ended up being called for an illegal low block.
Personal foul. Block below the waist. Number 8 of the passing team.
It was called a block below the waist, but he was making a tackle, which is not the same as a block, obviously. It's completely legal to tackle the way he did, and he didn't even tackle below the waist if you look at it. So who was he blocking below the waist? Number 23 who jumped over him?
Here's the deal on this play. We think it's a bad call. If Hasselbeck is making a tackle, he can go low. If you go low on a blocker, and the call was that he went low on 26 Townsend, that was a cut. And that's why they argued the call to no avail.
In the end, the Steelers won the Super Bowl 21-10. It seemed like every time the Seahawks had any kind of momentum going, it was killed by some kind of a call. So what was the reason that they would supposedly rig the Super Bowl? Well, the only real reason I could find is that the Steelers star running back Jerome Bettis was going to retire after the game. He had a legendary career and is now in the Hall of Fame. He also just so happened to be born and raised in Detroit, where the game was being played. Obviously, it would be a great story for him to go out on top, winning the Super Bowl in his hometown. Leading up to the game, there was lots of hype surrounding that. It seemed like the entire city was rooting for the Steelers. Many more Steelers fans were also in attendance of the game than Seahawks. Just look at that sea of yellow. After the game, the NFL said that they felt the game was correctly officiated. Years later, though, in 2010, the referee from the game, Bill Levy, said this, quote, "It was a tough thing for me. I kicked 2 calls in the 4th quarter and I impacted the game. And as an official, you never want to do that. It left me with a lot of sleepless nights and I think about it constantly. I'll go to my grave wishing I'd been better. I know I did my best at that time, but it wasn't good enough. When we make mistakes, you gotta step up and own them. It's something that all officials have to deal with, but unfortunately, when you have to deal with it in the Super Bowl, it's difficult." End quote. You've got to respect Levy for coming out and saying that. I think the Steelers would have won the game anyways, but it's certainly interesting to talk about. The Los Angeles Rams, of course, used to be the St. Louis Rams. They had previously been the Los Angeles Rams for many years, from 1946 to 1994. However, they moved to St. Louis in 95 and had been playing there for 20 years until 2015. When the Rams moved back to LA in 2016, they weren't very good, and they also didn't seem to have much of a fan base. With new coach Sean McVay, though, and first overall pick Jared Goff, they turned things around. But fans still were not showing up. In most games, the opposing team would have more fans than the Rams. The Rams were also getting a new state-of-the-art $5 billion stadium built, which opened in 2020. However, in 2020 with COVID, no fans could see the games there. So the theory is that the Rams got the NFL to give them a Super Bowl win in 2021. The Super Bowl just so happened to be hosted in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles that very same season. It was also the first year for fans to be able to see games there. So with the Rams playing a home game for the Super Bowl and all the hype that goes around it, it could bring countless new fans from the LA area and fill SoFi Stadium for years to come. That would make up for lost revenue in 2020 and for their 20-year absence from Los Angeles. The Rams went on to win the Super Bowl. Next, we have a theory that NFL officials are told to go easy on offensive holding calls in the Super Bowl. This would be because offensive holding calls are drive killers and benefit the defense. The NFL would not want to see a defensive battle in the Super Bowl. There have been a few, and they haven't got as many views. Many people who don't normally watch football will tune into the Super Bowl, so they want to see the game as high-scoring and as exciting as possible. The next theory is that Pete Carroll wanted Russell Wilson to be Super Bowl MVP. This theory is about the famous Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl. It was in 2015, and it was when the Seahawks famously tried to pass the ball on the 1-yard line. They needed a touchdown to pretty much win the game, and with very little time left, they had the ball on the 1-yard line. Marshawn Lynch was in the backfield, and everybody figured he was getting the ball. However, the Seahawks did what no one expected and attempted a pass. Malcolm Butler of the Patriots intercepted the pass and sealed the win for the Patriots. This has gone down as probably the worst play call in Super Bowl history. Why would you not just keep running the ball with Marshawn Lynch, who was one of the greatest running backs at the time, especially in short yardage situations? The theory is that Pete Carroll wanted Russell Wilson to be the hero of the game instead of Marshawn Lynch. Another touchdown for Wilson would have gave him 3 on the day, and if Lynch had scored, he likely would have been named the MVP. Now, this is the real explanation for why the Seahawks passed the ball. They said that when they got the first down after the catch by Curse, they had the ball at the 5-yard line with about a minute left, so they sent the personnel in. and they were planning on doing a run play and then a pass play regardless of where the ball was. Lynch actually nearly scored on the first play, but a great tackle kept him down at the 1. This burned the clock down to 20-something seconds before they got the next snap off, and there seemed to maybe be a bit of confusion. They ran the pass play which had been called anyways, and it got intercepted by Malcolm Butler. And speaking of Malcolm Butler, there is a bit of a Super Bowl mystery surrounding him as well. Butler made the famous Super Bowl interception for the Patriots in his rookie season. He actually hadn't been one of their main corners that year. He was an undrafted player from a Division II college and only started one regular season game that rookie season. Then he entered the Super Bowl late and made the biggest play of the game. After that, he went up the depth chart. For the next 3 seasons, he started every regular season game except for one for the Patriots, and was their number 1 corner until 2018 when he became their number 2 corner. In the 2018 Super Bowl, the Patriots were facing the Philadelphia Eagles. Butler was not said to be injured and mysteriously did not play. He was seen standing on the sidelines in full uniform, but never went out for a single defensive snap. He just played one special team snap. The Patriots ended up losing the game 41-33, and everyone was wondering why they wouldn't want their number 2 corner on the field. After the game, Coach Belichick said that it was a coach's decision for him not to play, but didn't elaborate. It remains pretty mysterious.
What went into the decision with Malcolm not to play him tonight on defense?
We just played all the guys we could to, try to help us win in whatever packages we had. A couple different situations came up and just trying to move some things around. So, yeah, again, I think we just, tried to play all those packages that we could to put everybody out there. He was active for the game, so. Yeah, again, we were just trying to run some packages that we had, for the game plan, and just, those guys that were out there for all the situations that we needed them for.
2 points. It's got to be more than that.
Sure. Look, again, we had some guys in some different spots that we practiced, in those spots for a couple of weeks, and just felt good about some of those.
How big you have them on the
Sure.
sideline?
Again, we're just, trying to put everybody in the right spot to make plays. And
Butler's teammates didn't seem to know why he was benched either. Brian Flores also didn't even know, and the Patriots owner Robert Kraft did not know that Butler was going to be benched until the game started. Butler has said afterwards that he doesn't even know why he was benched.
I don't know why. I don't know. It's a coaching decision.
Now, there were some rumors about it, like that he had gotten into a heated argument with defensive coordinator Matt Patricia in practice before the Super Bowl. However, that's not terribly uncommon if it did happen, and I wouldn't think it would be a reason to bench him. It was also reported that he may have been demoted during practice earlier in the playoffs. Maybe Coach Belichick just didn't like what he was seeing from Butler on the field and thought they had a better chance to win without him playing. There's another theory that Butler may have had a concussion and just wasn't good enough to go that game. Overall, none of these theories have been proved either way, and some people went as far as to say that there's a theory Bill Belichick intentionally lost the Super Bowl. At the time, there were rumors that he could be leaving New England, and many of his coordinators around that time were getting interviewed and getting head coaching jobs. The rumor is that he wanted to show everyone that he built the Patriots dynasty and he could end it whenever he wanted, so he purposely lost as some kind of a power move. Then he would leave New England and completely screw the team and move on. However, that did not end up happening, and he stayed at New England for several more years. There is another Super Bowl conspiracy related to the Patriots. Some people think that their 2002 Super Bowl win was rigged. Many people talk about the Tuck rule, which helped them get through the playoffs. According to the rule book at the time, though, it was the correct call. The plays that are more confusing are 2 that happened on the final drive of the Super Bowl. The Patriots were playing the St. Louis Rams, led by Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf. With 1:21 left on the clock in the fourth quarter, the Rams had just tied the game. The Patriots got the ball on their own 17-yard line with no timeouts. Tom Brady ended up leading a drive that set up Adam Vinatieri to kick a game-winning field goal. However, on one of the plays, Brady gets pressured and throws the ball away. It seems very close to intentional grounding, and some of the Rams players were calling for the flag. The ball did not really go near any receiver at all, and when he throws the ball, he appears to still be inside the pocket. You could make an argument that he was outside the pocket or that the receiver was in the remote area, but the fact that there didn't really seem to be any controversy about it seems strange. Other than seeing a few Rams players yelling on the sideline, everybody just kind of moved on like nothing happened. Then, on the final play of the game, there was 7 seconds left when the ball was snapped for Vinatieri to kick the field goal. Now watch the clock count down to 0 after the ball has already hit the net.
Here comes one of greater importance if he makes it, and it's right down the pipe.
It looks like an extra 2 seconds go off the clock after the kick went through and the play was seemingly over. Once more, everyone kinda just moves on and it's never really mentioned. The confetti started falling and it was too late to do anything about it. Now, I would guess that the Rams sideline was maybe getting angry about it, and even if the Rams had got another play, they most likely still would have lost, but they would have at least had one play to try something. Now, I've heard at the time that that was actually fairly common and the clock would run out on field goals. This is still an interesting theory. There are also conspiracies out there that Super Bowl III was fixed. This Super Bowl was the famous game between the Jets and the Colts where Joe Namath guaranteed a victory. It took place in January of 1969, and the Jets were heavy underdogs in the game. They ended up winning the game 16-7, and Joe Namath was the MVP. Now, the theory is that the Colts were asked to lose the game so that the AFL team could win the Super Bowl. It was such a large upset, in fact, probably the biggest in football at the time, and the Colts really didn't play as well as expected at all. And also at this time, the NFL and the AFL were two completely different leagues. The NFL had been founded in 1920 and had been around much longer than the AFL, which was founded in 1960. Beginning in 1967, the NFL champion and the AFL champion met in one final game called the Super Bowl. For the first two Super Bowls, though, the NFL team destroyed the AFL team. In Super Bowl I, the Packers won 35-10, and in Super Bowl II, the Packers won again 33-13. The two leagues had been planning on merging, so the theory is that they wanted the AFL to look legit, so they needed to win. In 1970, the leagues did merge and became the AFC and NFC, similar to how they are today. Over the years, there have been many rumors about the game being fixed, but nothing has been proven at all. So those are some of the craziest Super Bowl conspiracies. Personally, I don't believe any of them, but I think they're fun to talk about. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.